Welcome, class. Let's begin today's class with the same topic that we discussed yesterday. It was a poem written by Amy Lowell, and the title of this poem is The Poem. Okay, the name of this poetry is The Poem, and it is written by Amy Lowell. Amy Lowell has discussed about the two different phases of life. Mainly, she has uh, tried to differentiate between the negligence and the care. What is the main difference between the care and negligence? When we take a good care of something, so it blooms in a beautiful life. But when that same thing is neglected or ignored, or the not taking care with attention, so what happens? It finishes up, it dies. So the message that Lowell has tried to convey us is that we must give importance to each and everything in our life. Okay, every person is born with a talent. Every life has something unique, something is special in the personality, and what we need to do, we need to identify and develop it properly. We need to keep on polishing also with it, recognizing and not working on that is just like neglecting something. Suppose if you are good at drawing and you know that you have the quality of becoming a good artist, so what is important for you? Drawing it once or twice and prove yourself that yes, I can draw very well is not enough, children. You have to keep on polishing, you have to keep on brushing up your talent every day. You have to work hard on that. You have to practice on it every day, and a part of that, what is new going on in that field, that also you have to search out and add up in your skill. Then only you will be recognized as an expertise in that field, as an expert in that field. Okay, so to get something, what is important? The hard work. And that hard work is the care that you give to your talent. That is the main thing that Lowell has tried to describe in this poem. In the first phrase of the poem, she has mentioned a green twig that has life, that got the love and care and bloomed up in a tall bush. And in the second half, the second stanza of the poem, she has described that if we neglect that twig, we don't care for that twig, so what happens to it? After some time, it turns to a dried wood piece. It is dead, dried, shriveled, and then you throw it in the dustbin. Means it becomes the twig that was too useful, that could be that could have grown in a tall bush, that could have been laden with beautiful flowers, would have produced tasty juicy fruits, would have given the shelter to many herbs and shrubs. Now what is when is neglected is a dead, dried wooden piece, nothing else. Okay, and where it has gone? It has gone in a bin because it was a rubbish, a waste. Now, just because of the ignorance, the care that it deserved to get a life, when it is not given to it, it was of no use. Okay, so let's take a reading of this poem once again, and then we solve the exercises given at the last of the poem, and we will discuss the vocabulary also. Clear? So everybody please pay attention. Let's read the poem once again. It is only a little twig with a green bud at the end. But if you plant it and water it and set it where the sun will be above it, it will grow into a tall bush. with many flowers and leaves, which thrush hither and thither sparkling. From its roots will come freshness, and beneath it the grass blades will bend and recover themselves and clash one upon another in the blowing wind. But if you take my twig and throw it into a closet with mousetrap and blunted tools, it will shrivel and waste, and someday, when you open the door, you will think it an old twisted nail and sweep it into the dustbin with other rubbish. Okay? It's really a very, very inspiring and motivational poem. So, in this poem, basically, the speaker talks about a twig that she believes must be planted, nurtured, and allowed to grow into a tall bush. If we don't allow it water and sunshine and shut it into a closet, then it will dry and withered away. The poem seems to deal with a plant growing from a twig, but it also refers the side effects of ignorance and carelessness also. Children, our life is like a twig. It will bear only if we plant it in the soil of goodness and nurture it with the water of hard work and persistence. The life will bloom into a happy, contently life in the sunlight of the God's love. The life must be treasured and given a fair chance to bloom. Like a twig, talent too needs attention and care to bloom. Now, let's come to its word meaning, the word man. I have sorted out some of the words. May they be new for you. So let's discuss them one by one. The first word is hither and thither. Hither and thither, I told you, it's an old English word and it means here and there. So children, you can use hither and thither in the same manner as you use here and there. Like they looked for their children here and there. So that could be they looked for their children hither and thither. Okay, then you can say that he spread his things, his accessories here and there. उसने अपनी सब सामान यहाँ वहाँ फैला दिया. So he spread his things here and there. So he spread his things hither and thither in the room. Okay, so hither and thither can be used in the same way as here and there is used. Cleared? The second word is shrivel. Shrivel means withered or to dry up and become wrinkle जिसमें झुर्रियाँ पड़ जाती हैं, मुरझा जाना, that is shrivel. Withered is the synonym of shrivel. Okay, now here I can show you a leaf. This leaf is dried up, it is shriveled up, it's a withered leaf. I am using many substitute words for shrivel. I have used withered, dried up, dead. Okay, so they all are quite close to in meaning. They all are synonym of shrivel. Okay, so shrivel means wrinkled or withered, murjhaya hua. Okay, like in the first half of the poem, the twig was green, it has a green bud, so it was fresh. But in the second stanza, when it was shut into a closet, so it turned to a nail. That was the shriveled twig, the withered twig. Okay. Now the third word is rubbish. Rubbish is well known to everybody. It means waste. That is of no use. Like after withering, the twig was of no use. It was a rubbish. Okay, many times you must have heard people saying that what rubbish you are talking. Because when you talk worthlessly, senselessly, make no sense, no meaning. So that is a rubbish talk. Now the fourth word is thrust. Thrust means पुश सडनली इन अ स्पेसिफिक डायरेक्शन, जोर से किसी डायरेक्शन में फेंकना, लाइक द thrust of heavy air has piled the leaves in the corner of the garden. ओके, जोर से हवा ने सारी लीव्स को गार्डन के कॉर्नर में इकट्ठा कर दिया. सो द थ्रस्ट ऑफ हैवी विंड has piled the leaves in the corner of the garden, or he was thrust to death. वो मरने के लिए उसको फोर्स किया गया. ओके, सो थ्रस्ट मीन्स पुश सडनली इन अ स्पेसिफिक डायरेक्शन, जब किसी चीज के लिए जोर से पावर लगाई जाती है किसी चीज को करने के लिए, तो दैट इज थ्रस्ट. The next word is closet. Closet means a cupboard or wardrobe. That too you must have seen in your home. We all have closet or cupboard to keep the things, our stationery, our clothing, shoes, everything. Okay? In the same manner, Mama also uses closet in the kitchen and in her bedroom to keep the things or accessories. Now let's come to exercise A, children. This is answer the following questions briefly. Okay, so look at the first question. How is the twig described in the first stanza? कैसे describe किया है twig को? So in the first stanza, the twig is described as little with a green bud at one end. Okay, now in what ways does the twig look different in the second stanza? कैसे different हो गया? In the first stanza the twig was green, lively, but in the second stanza it was dead, shriveled. So that was the only difference that has been asked here. So in what ways does the twig look different in the second stanza? In the second stanza the twig is described as shriveled. Shriveled means withered. Then for what purpose does the poet use these contrasting images of twig? What are the two contrasting images of twig? The one is green and the second is shriveled. Why these two contrasting images have been used by the poet? Very simple, because the poetess wants to make us realize the difference between the care and the negligence. Right? So the poet uses these contrasting images to highlight that if we don't provide care and nurture things properly, they would shrivel up and die. There is nothing in the answers, children, if you have understood the poem very well and are able to understand the questions also. So you can write these answers in your you can write these answers very easily. Okay, now let's come to the fourth. Explain the relevance of the twig to the title of the poem. Okay, so the twig is a metaphor for the talent that lies hidden in human. Like the twig that grows into a tall bush, at first the talent is just a little spark, but with careful nurturing, it can develop into a thing of great beauty and power. Here, twig is just a metaphor. Metaphor, I told you, what is metaphor? When the comparison is made between two objects. Okay, so here the comparison is made between the talent and the twig. Okay, and when we give proper care and nurture to a twig, so it grows into a tall bush. In the same manner, when we give care and when we provide proper care and love and nurturing to our talent, so that talent also become that talent also one day comes out as a beautiful part of a person. A person's whole personality is maintained by that talent. People start recognizing that person with his talent only. Okay, so that is the main that comparison being made with that poetess in the poem. Now let's come to exercise B. Read these lines from the poem and answer the questions which follow. The first extract is, and someday when you open the door, you will think it an old twisted nail and sweep it into the dustbin with other rubbish. So, here, what door is the poet talking about? What is this door? The poet is talking about the door to the closet in which the twig has been thrown. Now, what would we think was an old twisted nail? वो old twisted nail क्या है closet में? It was the shriveled twig, right? So we would think the shriveled twig was an old twisted nail. Why would it be old and twisted? क्यों वो twig old और twisted हो गई थी? Think, because it has been left to shrivel up and waste away in the clothes, because it was closed, because it was shut in the cupboard like a worthless thing. It has not been given enough water, enough sunlight to be nurtured up, okay, grown up, and that is why it turned to a waste. So it would be old and twisted because it has been left to shriveled up and waste away in the closet. Now, number 4. What idea is the poet trying to convey in these lines? The lines you have read just now. Sorry. The idea that the poet is trying to convey in these lines is that if we neglect talent and shut it away, it will shrivel up and die like the little twig. Okay, so what is the purpose? What is the main idea the poet has tried to convey? The lines you have read right now, that if we don't take care of the talent and let it be lying like that, so what will happen one day? One day that talent will be finished up, it will be dead, like that twig that was left dying in the closet. Now class, let's solve exercise C. That is only for discussion. Okay, so the first, this is not going to be done in notebook. The first one is, the poet uses several images in the poem to make her point. Pick out any one of these images and explain it in your own words. So first talk about the images, and the images that the poet has used to make her point clear. What is the point the poetess has tried to highlight? The difference between care and negligence. So how she has cleared out these two things in the poem? The care she has denoted with the help of the twig, and negligence when it was shut into the closet. So there are many lines in the poem that are showing these two conditions, like a twig with a bud at the end. So it is showing the life. The bud that has been shown at the top, at the one end of the twig, is showing that the twig has life. It is still green and can be grown to a big tall bush if it is given a proper nurturing, a proper care. Okay, in the same manner, a tall bush with many flowers. A tall bush with many flowers means a tall bush is again is the symbol of life, and with many flower is showing the flourishment of that life. Means the life has happiness and prosperity. In the same manner, an old twisted nail. An old twisted nail, if I describe this, an old twisted nail, so the twig that was closed or shut into the closet and has been kept separate from water and sunlight. So what is this water and sunlight? This water and sunlight is the care that it needed But when that twig has not received that care, has not given the attention, so it turned to an old twisted nail. It became dead. It shriveled up and finished. So when a thing doesn't get proper care and is ignored, so what happens to it? It finishes up. It one day it die. It means that things become of no use. Okay. Now the next is identify and explain the metaphor in the poem. Again, that metaphor comparison between two things, two objects. Okay, so identify and explain the metaphor in the poem. The whole poem is a metaphor. And where can we call this metaphor? This metaphor is what? The comparison between the talent and the twig. What elements does the poet see in common between the two things she compares? So, the poem is an extended metaphor about the potential or talent that lies hidden in all human beings. The poet compares talent to the little twig with a green bud. Both the things need to be nurtured to blossom and achieve their potential. But if they are neglected and ignored, talent will shrivel up and die just like a twig. Sorry. So here, when we talk about the metaphor, so the whole poem is a metaphor where the comparison has been made between the life that has got lots of attention and the death that is because of the negligence. So, main idea that this poem develops or supports is what? The attention, the love, the care that we give to ourselves. If you have any little spark, this spark could be about any kind of talent. That could be any kind of kinetic means if you have the quality of a sports person, you are a good football player or a cricket player, or if you have the talent of writing good poetry, or you can write good articles or can draw very well, or know how to dance or sing very well. So what is most important for you, most essential for you? To care for that talent. How can you provide it the care? Give your time to your talent. Practice it every day. Okay, and keep on looking for the more exposures, that what extra you can do with that talent, what extra you can add to your skill that help you in coming out in a better performer. Okay, so I hope the class must have understood the idea that poetess has tried to introduce you all, and this is very important. The poem is really, really very motivational, and it is very inspiring also. It conveys a very good message, and that is why it has been given a place in your English book. That's all for today's class, children. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.